Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We meet together every Sunday night from 8 until 10 p.m. right here, wherever you're watching it. And we'd love for you to join us live. We've got some folks in the chat room, and there's other things that we talk about when we're not recording. I want to talk to you tonight about the nations of the earth, those that have come and those that have gone. Come and gone, largely based on the personality and the power of the individual or of the government that's at the helm. I'm talking dictatorships, I'm talking military generals, political movements that have propelled a number of people and a number of groups and artificial assemblies into power for a time. Some have actually achieved great things, but only as long as the particular dictator or powerful entities lived and were able to control things. Of course, there have been exceptions. None more obvious, none more significant than Israel. And right behind her, the United States of America. Israel rose to power on the heels of King David, a warrior king. Admitting his power and his office was the direct result of the one true God of heaven's appointment and blessing. A warrior king who set out to fulfill God's command that Israel rid the land of those people groups which rejected him. David offered divine justice and peace for the people of God. His son Solomon took that nation to new heights, both in the building of the temple in Jerusalem and the expansion of wealth and power in the region. But in his worldly success, Solomon forgot his God. Subsequent kings, progeny, sons, grandsons, great-grandsons, and the rest, divided the kingdom, destroyed the kingdom due to their rejection of the one true God of heaven. The United States of America follows the same path, establishing her authority and purpose upon the principles found in the Holy Bible and granting both autonomy and responsibility to her people. But after a great world victory, World War II, she purposed to enjoy the fruits of success. A generation that had endured the Great Depression, and then as they came of age, were shoveled off into war. Came back to go to work and to raise their families, tired of those old ways and wanting to enjoy something now. The enemies of right and good were vanquished, and the world was at peace. The forces of good and right would be able, certainly, to keep it that way. In the grips of this false evaluation, the United States became morally weak and began a descent into chaos, slowly at first, simply forgetting from whence she came, eventually abandoning the true source of her greatness, meaning God, and finally resorting to personal gratification and the accumulation of riches. The United States has abandoned her founding principles, replacing them with humanistic and politically progressive policies. Now, the word progressive is derived from the idea of progress. True progress, we judge, could only be achieved if and when we shed the external controls, the oughts and the shoulds of life, meaning largely our religious belief in absolute moral principles and guidance by this unseen hand of God. And abandon it we have. Darwinian evolution replaced the biblical concept of creation. Truth was abandoned in favor of relativism. Ethics was no longer viewed in objective reality. You have yours, I have mine. Morality became whatever we wanted it to be. The concept of family was replaced by revolving roommates. Children were abandoned to government schools. Churches no longer preached the Word of God. Legal decisions are now opinions based upon a judge's interpretation or precedent. What we did not realize, although those who deliberately crafted our new society did, was that without religious freedom, there's no political freedom. Politics addresses policy, but religion addresses morality. The policies are built upon morality, or they collapse. A relative moral code results in policies that are merely fair, and fair only to the individual or to the party in question, not always the larger community. And fairness is always the enemy of justice. When the concept of right no longer means anything objectively correct, it really doesn't matter what decision is made. The only thing that matters is the narrow issue at hand, and what's at stake is only what's fair in this particular case. These concepts are not as clear-cut as my evaluation seems to imply, partly due to the fact that we can't see the larger picture always. But in this larger picture, these principles are exactly correct. Our progress as a society has been hit and miss, with movements toward moral destruction interspersed by moments of relief. Read sanity. Look at it. No nation survives high taxes and social benefits for everybody. No nation survives the rule of public opinion. No nation survives the deliberate devaluation of her currency. No nation survives financial support of her enemies. Think the United Nations, foreign aid. No nation abandons God and survives very long. No nation survives giving money to people who don't work. This is the year 2017. 6 years ago, 2011, we were giving 49.2% of our people money to live on, government aid. Half our people were not productive. Now, this is not just helping people who cannot work. This is supporting people, in many cases, who will not work, either because they refuse or because they didn't prepare themselves to work. There is now a growing segment of people who cannot, not because they are physically impaired in the sense that they, can't actually stand up, walk, or talk, but because their systems, from the way they think to the way their body operates, are so weak, nobody will hire them. Drugs, unsafe and dangerous sex that creates diseases that destroy our genetic structures. At issue here is faith, morality, family, and responsibility. Our Social Security program, for example, is based on what was viewed as legitimate insurance. It was created to deliberately eliminate the vast majority of the folks who were paying into it. Did you understand that? It's 1935. They've established a Social Security system, and they built it in such a way that the people who were paying into it in 1935 would not get a benefit. They set it up so that you had to be 65 years of age to get the benefit. In 1935, the average age of a working male, and mostly it was males working, was 58 years. That is immorality. Being sacrificed on the altar of expediency. Today, Social Security benefits begin at 62, if you're willing to take a 20% cut or so. And the average male who reaches 65 statistically will live to 84. Now, in terms of actuarials, that's insanity. It's immoral. We are going into serious debt to pay this. However, in terms of the policy of social moral destruction, it makes perfect sense. And I'm not saying that anybody in Washington is sitting down and saying, how can we destroy? But that's what they do. It's doubtful that we will be able to identify any lawmaker or public servant who is deliberately seeking to destroy your country. I know there are some that sound that way. But by embracing a godless and immoral view of life and a godless, immoral view of government, that is exactly what's happening in these United States of America. Under the best of situations, circumstances. We are in the midst today of trying to undo Obamacare. Socialized medicine. We are the last Western bastion of independence. Everybody else has got socialized medicine. We want it too. It doesn't work anywhere. But we want it. What we have doesn't work. Nothing does. And so now we want to trade that for something that will not work, but won't be as obvious. And we can't get everybody on board. But we will get a compromise somewhere, somehow. And there'll be huge numbers of people that say, oh, great. And 10 years from now, we'll be trying to fix it again. In the meantime, as a nation, we will be bankrupt. This is immorality on a grand scale, but it is also destructive. And our nation will not last as long as our leaders keep doing this kind of thing. We as a society can't stay focused long enough to elect enough good people to make a difference. And those of us who are older have a different definition of the word good. So when the average IQ in America is 98, and the majority of the population is under 50 years of age, it doesn't sound like America has much hope. But we still hope. I would encourage you to pray. I would also encourage you to develop sound fiscal policy in your own household before it's too late. Because it will be too late one day.